Good day, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Dracula.
Hey, everybody.
Hello there. And also, everyone, please welcome our guest for tonight, Even Note Emerald.
Hello.
Hello there, and welcome to the show.
Why, thank you.
Right. And I don't know if you heard about our little hazing routine, but we start every new guest off by asking them how they got into Dungeons and Dragons and DDO and the community and all that fun stuff.
Well, way back in college, I did used to play a little bit of pen and paper, but really not much because I was working 2 part-time jobs and carrying 21 credit hours, so, not a lot of time.
21 credit hours?
Oh, yeah. I double majored and finished in only 1 extra semester, so yeah. That was a lot of credit hours.
Yeah, that's a lot of credit hours.
That's an understatement.
Especially if the majors were very different from each other.
Computer science and math science. And actually, it could have been worse because some of the courses qualified for both majors, so I kind of got to double dip a little there.
Yeah, okay. I'd have thought that they would have double dipped a little bit more, but okay.
And I actually got into DDO. My thankfully now ex-boyfriend played, and he let me try playing Wizard 101, and when I did well enough at that, he said, okay, I think I'm going to let you play DDO, which I had never heard of at the time. And he got me into DDO. We got into a guild. He turned out to be a royal jerk. He no longer plays as far as I know, and don't really care. But I'm, almost 5 years later, I'm still around and no longer have to, sell and repair and turn over all my plat to him so he can buy my gear. So that's pretty cool.
All right. And how'd you get involved in the community?
I found my DDO, and I don't even remember how I found that. And I found out they had a blogging feature, and I'm actually a writer by trade. It's like, ooh, a chance to write. So I started a blog, and of course my DDO.
Hold on. You said you're a writer?
Yeah, I right now I'm freelancing, mostly doing a little freelance writing and editing. But I used to be a newspaper sports editor and writer.
How did you go from a computer science / mathematics degree to writing?
Well, it's a little bit of a long story, but I'll try to shorten it. Basically, I am a huge Philadelphia Flyers fan, and I used to watch the games on Comcast, which is the Philadelphia Comcast Philadelphia would carry the games, and I live actually about 3.5 hours from Philly. And this was back in the days before the internet was like everywhere. And I used to look online, and the Flyers website was hopelessly out of date. And I used to, try to look for post-game recaps and stuff and not find any. So I started writing my own. And I got an email one day from this guy saying, hey, we're starting up this magazine called Philly Hockey, and we're looking for writers. And I've been reading your wrap-ups, and I'd like to know if you'd be interested in working for us. And the rest is history.
Okay. All right. Okay, because I at least, while I was a computer science major, I at least minored in English, so there was...
I actually wanted to minor in English because I wanted
You didn't have time.
Like 4, and I couldn't stand the head of the English department at the college I was at, so...
All right, so... Okay, let's go back to the community then.
That's probably a good idea. Anyway, I started blogging, and I go back and read some of those old blogs now, and forgive me, I'm talking on a cough drop because I'm getting cold. I go back and read some of those old blogs now about, when I started my cleric and she was running around wielding a Kopesh and melee and stuff and using a cleric hireling. I think, oh my god, I was such a noob. I was a total noob. And after a while, of course, my DDO, I think it was around 2012, DDO removed that. And we had like a real little community there. People, even playing on different servers, we'd comment on each other's blogs. And I actually met pretty much most of my best friends in DDO. Lord Silverhand, Shin, Comic Relief, Ms., Bonnie. I'm leaving people out and I don't mean to, but I met them all through my DDO and the blogs. It's like, wow, it really sucks that we're not going to have one place where everybody's blog is. So that was how our DDO got started, which I'll mention later. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, then. And tonight, later on in the show, we will have 2 giveaways for 500 turbine points. Who is eligible and not eligible, Drac?
You and I are not eligible. And it looks like we actually have Cordovan in the chat room, so guess what? You can't win turbine points either. But other than that, everybody else is eligible. Anybody that's in the chat.
Let's head into our game news. And our first item is that Update 28, the Devil's Gambit, is now on Lemania. And it looks like we have the latest version of the release notes just hot off the presses. I guess Cordovan was busy working on those before he came here.
Yeah, I actually just saw this probably about 30 minutes before we started the call for the show. I noticed they tweeted that an updated build was on the Mania, and I went and checked, and lo and behold, there's updated patch notes as well. So if you want to check out Update 28, it is now on the Mania. The big thing, of course, is the Devil's Gambit. The quests are up. You can defend Stormreach from the demonic invaders. All new Adventure Pack will feature 4 quests. The NPC to acquire the quest chain and will teleport you to the various quest NPCs can be found in the Eberron Hall of Heroes. It's free to VIP, and it's also going to be available in the DDO store. Looks like now on the Mania, the Dungeon Master audio has been added for the quest. So that is always cool to actually hear the DM DMing your dungeon for you.
Hold on. Let me see here. Let's see. They added ranged weapons to Ranger hirelings. Are you saying that Ranger hirelings didn't before have ranged weapons?
I don't know. There was only one Ranger hireling, and I don't think I ever used him.
Yeah, I never used him either, so apparently not. But see, you're skipping around in the patch notes, Pine Leaf. You're throwing the flow of the show off.
Sorry. Okay.
It's all right.
Continue.
We also have the new Monster Manual is up, and we are going to be talking about that in a little bit. But there is a new creature companion you can get, and it is the Hellhound, and I want one.
Yes, I want, like, many.
And we're going to be bringing up your creature companion thing later on in the show, so because we have to talk about that. Also, there has been some glamored weapons auras are now going to work with the following items: the Great Axe of Chained Soldier, the Epic Great Axe of the Chained Soldier. Man, I cannot talk tonight. And Terror. Also, Mirrors of Glamoring should no longer be able to be used on any quest-specific items that are destroyed upon quest exits. And the Ranger changes are up to look at on the Mania. We did talk about those last week, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the Tempest Ranger changes a little later on in the show, but those are actually up, so you can check that out. And it looks like Hirelings got a lot of work. And I will refrain from saying anything other than that. We will talk about
Yeah, my tongue's now got a big boo-boo because I just bit it really hard.
So, once again, this is Lemania only for right now. Stand Your Ground will now remain persistent through most commands, except for Follow Me, Teleport to Me, and Guard Target. Hirelings will no longer move towards their master after interacting with a lever if they have been ordered to stand their ground. And I say hallelujah to that, because that was one of the most annoying things about the Hirelings. The Hirelings also will now show alerts when the players spam an interact button and for when their pathing fails during a target interaction. So that should help if you're trying to get your Hirelings to do some levers or doors or anything like that. Pineleaf said the ranged weapons have now been added to Ranger and Rogue Hirelings, who will predominantly use them when standing their ground in aggressive mode when an enemy is outside of their melee range. So that's kind of nice. And then they did add a little note in here for clarity. These are the descriptions for the Hireling command. So Stand Your Ground states this. Stand Your Ground commands the Hireling to remain in the general area. The Hireling will still engage creatures in combat, but should not stray too far from their standard unless directed to do so. 3 commands will automatically dismiss the Stand the Ground directive, and that, as we said before, was Follow Me, Guard Target, and Teleport to Me. So it really sounds like they are working on the stand your ground bug with the hirelings, because that, I think, mostly from what I read in the forums, and I know I use hirelings a lot, and when Pineleaf and I play, we use hirelings. That was the major problems with hirelings that I saw, was you would tell them to stand still, and they would say, nope, not going to do it. So it looks like they are looking with that.
It's rather a strange thing they have on passive stats. It says hirelings will refrain from most movement and combat of any kind. In passive mode, hirelings will consider using rest shrines that are nearby. Does that mean if they're in any other stance, they will not go anywhere near a rest shrine?
That's one of those weird things, how they word it. That's how I would take it to mean by reading that, but I would hope that's not what it actually is.
All right, then. Anything else?
Well, there's just some item changes and some quest changes. But the big one, I hope everybody is setting down.
All right.
Especially Jeff Hanna, if you're out there, and I know you are. They have fixed an issue that caused the mouse wheel to get stuck in first-person view when interacting with a bag.
Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
I saw his blog on that. That was pretty awesome.
Yes, it was. So yeah,
I think he was happy.
Finally, the mouse wheel bug has been fixed.
Mouse wheel bug gets stuck in first-person view when interacting with a bag?
I take it you've never had that happen to you, Pineleaf. It's annoying as all get out.
Okay, well, or I had it and I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, so once again, these are Lemania only, and of course, subject to change. But you can click over on the article in the show notes are on DDO Players, and that will link you directly to the forum post that Cordovan put up about these patch notes, and you can read them in their entirety.
And if you want to have some idea of how Update 28 plays, but don't feel like downloading Lemania and all that stuff, then you could look at Cordovan's preview video on it, where he attempts to play through some things from Update 28. How successful was he?
He was pretty successful, especially since he had some devs there that were telling him what to do. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, this was a great video. There was several of the devs. They took questions from the crowd. They showed off a lot of the quests. They showed off some of the ranger changes. So it is a great video to take a look at, so you can kind of get a little hint at what we're going to be seeing in Update 28.
Are you saying that when he plays on a live stream with devs nearby, they actually help him instead of make it tougher for him?
Well, maybe. But see, of course, he's got all those like special commands he can do, so he doesn't need any help. And he's actually saying in chat, yeah, I was on an admin, so I couldn't die. Smiley face. Quijan from the chat is pointing out the best thing about the video, in his opinion, was Varguil was wearing flip-flops. So it was a casual day at
it was a casual day.
Friday.
Okay.
So if you want to see Varguil in flip-flops, check out Update 28, the Devil's Gambit preview video, over on the DDO YouTube channel.
And as mentioned earlier, they have announced some changes to the Tempest line for the Ranger. And is there anything nice in there?
You know, then again, I don't play a Tempest Ranger, so I'm probably the wrong person to talk about this.
How about Evenote? Have you ever played Tempest?
No, I have an Arcane Archer. Well, actually, I have a Tempest who's over on Canis that I've had for a couple of years, and I've only gotten her to level 7, so I don't really count that.
Yeah, okay.
After reading over these proposed changes, see, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to have to roll another Ranger now.
Did you say that last week?
I did. But see, this really makes me want to roll run is going to be the Drizzt Ranger. And the reason why I say that is this is a dual-wielding DPS powerhouse. They are adding a lot of DPS to dual-wielding, which I usually dual-wield on my rogues. On my Ranger, if I ever go, my Arcane Archer, if I ever actually go into melee, which I don't very often, I don't dual-wield. But wow, some of this dual-wield stuff looks awesome in this.
I'm kind of regretting that my Ranger is about to TR into a Druid. The Arcane Archer one. I was thinking of making her Tempest and Maybe I need to just buy another character slot.
Yeah, I actually have a couple open, so I'm like, I think when this goes live, I might make a Tempest Ranger. Few little things of note in here is Graceful Death. While you are dual wielding, you can use your dexterity modifier for damage with light melee weapons, and you get +5 to your melee power, which is awesome. There's one Dervish. It's a +4 passive to your dexterity, +25 chance to double strike with your offhand when dual wielding, +10 to melee power, physical rating, and magical resistance rating while you're wearing a light armor or cloth. And that's some of the core abilities you get for the Tempest. So, once again, you can go over in the show notes and read the complete proposed changes. And these are up on Lemania now, according to the patch notes. So you can check it out and see these changes for yourself. And make sure you pop over on the forums and add your input into the thread, because they are still looking at these and changing them due to what some of the players were saying. So your voice can be heard if you're a Tempest Ranger.
And we also have a link on a post to something in the Monster Manual 6. Why are we linking to this one?
At the time, this was the only place where a player actually had listed all of the new monsters that were in the new Monster Manual 6. So I just said, you know what? Instead of putting these in the show notes, I'm just going to link to the forum thread. And the monsters in the new manual are the Iron Defender, the Dragon, the Mudman, the Tiefling, the Bearded Devil, the Flesh Renderer, the Quarry, Yugoloth, the Hellhound, and the Shadow. And once again, the Hellhound does have a pet for finishing that Monster Manual. So I am so excited. So now I got to go once this goes online.
You're excited?
I am excited. I think not quite as excited as you are, but
Probably
I'm excited about this.
Oh, no. You're saying it took 6 Monster Manuals before they got to the Dragon?
That's what I'm saying, Pinely.
I thought it was called Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, there are a lot of dungeons.
And there's a lot of dragons too, Pineleaf. So
At last, yes.
You know, actually, we could probably debate this for a long time, like what needs to be added, because there's a lot of stuff that still is not in any of the Monster Manuals. So, but
okay,
you have to wonder though, how do they pick which ones to put in? Because it's, you know, they have this huge list to pick from. So I'm wondering what those meetings are like. Like, how do we decide what
I'd like
goes?
to be a fly on the wall for one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that Cordovan has had some interesting times in those meetings. Yes,
I'm sure he has. If only he could tell us some of the good.
Yeah, I have a
stuff
feeling it falls under the company NDA.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
All
So there you go. That's your new
All right.
monsters, and that, of course, will be free to VIPs and available in the store to free to play and premium.
All right. And speaking of Cordovan, we will talk about what he is allowed to tell us, and that is what's in the latest DDO Chronicle. And this is issue 159.
The community spotlights this week: DDO Cast live streams the permadeath play every Tuesday evening starting at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. And, of course, that is DDO Kasplat, which I love that name. That is an awesome name. And they always have a ton of fun. I love watching those every week. And we got a shout-out for the Stormreach campaign giveaway that we're doing for the hardback copy, which we're going to be talking about a little later on. And a player by the name of Mooboy has an epic widescreen screenshot.
This is an ultra wide screenshot.
That is a very widescreen screenshot. I cannot imagine what that would look like on a monitor that was big enough to actually show the whole thing.
Yeah,
That would be amazing.
Is this one a dual screen monitor?
I'm not sure. I should send him a message on the forum and ask him exactly what his setup is and how he took that. Because, yeah, that is a pretty epic screenshot for sure.
Somebody else, or maybe it was him, but I thought this was going back a month or two. Yeah, I had one with, the main monitor and one on each side and got a screenshot. It was like, 5,000 some odd pixels wide. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah, someone in there posted, I want a 2560 by 1080 also, and those gizmos are delicious. So this is but he says it's a single monitor that he uses, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's even more impressive then.
Yeah, because someone had
I'd like to
commented
see
that
that
they do it
monster.
on a triple, but he says no, he does it on a single. Yeah, I didn't think you could do it on a triple in DDO because I think it only works on one monitor because that's at least what I do. I could achieve this by spanning across two monitors, but then I have this hole in the middle.
Right.
And it would look a lot less epic if I did it that way.
And Cordovan in the chat, going back to the monster manual, says, we put together an extensive list, then the devs picked the monsters they want to add regardless. So see, he just spoiled our vision of the fist fights that go around.
Oh, but the fist fights might still happen just with the devs. He apparently isn't privy to those.
Well, that could be. Maybe they duke it out to decide whose monster gets in.
The sprint planning meetings with the devs are really might really be interesting there. Yes.
Now I want to be a dev for a day when they're picking monsters because there would so be a Drizzt in there, and there would be a cosmetic pet for it too.
In the Chronicle, the Shady Rogues head into the Bloody Crypt. Click over to watch the Shady Rogues in the Bloody Crypt. DDO Players News, which, hey, that's us. We celebrated our 50th episode last week, and it was quite the extravaganza we put on. It was our longest show ever, by the way. But
congratulations.
That made sense with all the damsels and bodies and all the craziness that went on. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that yet, you can click over on the link in the Chronicle and take a listen to that. DDO Gamer, Jeff is taking a look at Update 28, The Devil's Gambit. Damsels of DDO went into Epic Amaroth, so check that out to watch their latest show. And Edric, our unofficial stalker, quests through the Disciples of Shadow. So click over to look at Edric's latest blog. And that is it for our Chronicle this week.
All right, thank you. And then let's head over to our store sales. And is there anything nice on sale this week?
25% off. I about said 20% off, but they threw me off. It's 25% off. Epic Destinies, Tomes of Fate, Keys of Destiny, select expansion bundles, which would be Menace of the Underdark and the Shadowfell Conspiracy, and also Fast Travel. Also, your free sample of the week through the 24th will be the Greater Elixir of Angel Tears.
Okay.
Use the coupon code ATER1. ATER is the code.
Right.
A-tier, one per account.
All right. Now, here's my question.
Okay.
You said that it was select expansion bundles. What other expansion bundles have there been?
Surprise! There's none. See,
They just did a select all.
That's
okay. They did a select all. All right.
We've selected all of them to be on sale, but they're select expansion ones. So yeah.
All
That's
right.
like, which one should we put on sale? Control A. Let's go for it.
But you're missing the most important part about the store sales this week. The coupon code makes sense, Pineleaf.
Okay. Well, yeah, it does that occasionally. So I should shed a tear for that then?
Oh, really? Really? Wow. That was not your best work.
All right. You should make it up to the audience with a giveaway.
That's better.
You should do that. Absolutely.
We will do that. What I'm going to do is count the number of people in the chat room. Go to the wonderful random.org. Put that number in.
Let it spit out a number for me, and then that
Will be our winner. So give me just a minute to do that. The winner of the first code, we do have one more to give away, is Riverbird. You
Yay, Riverbird.
won 500 turbine points. All that you need to do, Riverbird,
is send me an email at
podcast@ddoplayers.com, podcast@ddoplayers.com, with just stating you were Riverbird in the chat room, you won the turbine point code, and I will email you your code.
All right then. Now let's head into our players' news, where we have a Stormreach campaign giveaway.
Sorry, I was lost
In the chat room.
Yes, and how could someone get this?
Very, very simply, you have until September 29th at 10 a.m., so you have a few days left to enter. All that you need to do is send a picture of a vampire and your character. So we need a screenshot that features a vampire in DDO. It can be any vampire. It doesn't matter which one. But the most important part is your character must be on the screenshot.
And you want the UI in there so you can see the character's name, right?
Doesn't matter. Most people have been sending it with UI on. Basically, the only reason why I stipulated your character must be in there, I just didn't want people to go to Google and find vampire pictures from DDO and just send those in as their entry. You kind of actually have to work for this a little bit, if you can call just going out to the orchard and fighting a vampire work, but
You could go to the right spot in House J and find a collectibles collector.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in there. Ooh, yeah, see, there you go. It's even easier to enter than what I thought it was going to be.
So even if you are free to play and can't get into Orchard, there's still a way to enter.
I guess I haven't gone in to talk to all of House J's collectible vendors if I didn't realize one was a vampire.
And of course, this is for the hardback printed copy of this. So this is going to look just like a Dungeons and Dragons module. And there was only 25 of these printed. So you can be one of the select 25 that have one of these amazing books. So send that screenshot of a vampire from DDO and your character in it to podcast@ddoplayers.com. And in the subject line, put Vampires of Stormreach. And that way I can filter all the entries out. And we have quite a few entries already. So I'm glad to see people are excited about this. And once again, we want to thank Quijan for giving us this copy to give away and also for paying for the postage on it. So even if you're international, you can still win this contest.
I would love to win this. That's a really nice looking book.
It is. It's amazing. If you've read the PDF, you know how cool it is. But just imagine having the hardback, and it just harkens back to the old days of looking at the Dungeon Master's Guide or something, and it's just amazing because it's all DDO. He's actually in the chat tonight, and he says if you're in Scotland, he'll actually deliver it in person with a bottle of McClellan.
Yes, sounds like a bottle of scotch of some sort, but I don't know
it's
about
scotch.
alcohol.
Yeah, people in the chat room are saying it's scotch.
Yeah.
And Quijan says it's great single malt scotch, so
even better. Single malt is the only way to go for scotch.
Quijan was also asking, he said people are asking him if you can enter more than once with different characters.
You know, I didn't think about that.
That sounds like you should have only one entry per person.
Yeah, I would think one entry per person. I should edit that post. That is a good thing that I didn't think about when I posted this. So yes, only one entry per person, and it looks like from the entries I got, from what I can tell so far, they've only been one entry per person because I haven't got 2 emails from the same account. So
all right.
That's good. And I will edit the post to state that, and I apologize for not putting that in to begin with, but that's something I didn't think about. I was just so excited that we got to give this away that I wanted to get this up right away.
And speaking of excitement, it is time for Evanote to talk about anything she wants.
Oh, boy. Well,
might be in trouble
obviously
here.
I want to mention my blog and RDDO, but you did mention something about wanting to ask me about Cosmetic Pets, so wow, what do you want to know?
Well, see, I was told, and I'm not going to tell you who told me to ask you this, but just how many Cosmetic Pets do you own, Evanote?
On Solanus, on my VIP account, 69.
That is awesome. That is...
And a 9.
I am standing up giving you a golf clap as we speak. That is amazing. How long did that take you to get that many Cosmetic Pets?
Yeah, how long have there been Cosmetic Pets? I started with the very first one I got was the little green kobold shaman because green is my favorite color. And it just kind of mushroomed from there. I also have every single extra trick for them. And I'm not really into like the collars and the hats that much, but I do have a couple pets that have them, and the green sparkling dust. And yeah, so there's only like 10 or 11 store pets I don't have. Still need the Wraith and Rust monster from the Monster Manual, and of course the Hellhound. And whatever the new one is you can get from the Daily Dice, I have not seen it. Don't know anybody who has it. But I'm seeing somebody's asking in the chat, is that all of them? And I think there's a total of 85. I think I'm like 16 short. And I need the Violet Cube that drops from some of the EE raids. Quijon is saying even though it knows that this is a podcast and not an intervention. I often thought I needed a 12-step program, but I think at this point I need a lot more than 12 steps.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're way beyond 12. That's amazing, though. That is awesome.
One of these days I'm going to blog it with little videos or at least pictures of them all. But yeah, every so often you'll get into a party and you're waiting for everybody to get there and start a raid or whatever, and people start going through their cosmetic pets. I always win those battles.
I'm sure you probably do. That's what I was going to ask. Like, do you have a favorite out of those?
Probably my favorite is the Black Panther cub that came with the Menace of the Underdark expansion, just because I have a cat who's mostly black and looks like that, and the Panther cub is named after her. So the other one that really has kind of grown on me is the Dusty Airly, and I don't know if it's my video card, because some of the people I've asked say they see it too, and some say no, it always looks dusty brown to me, but depending on what dungeon I'm in, it changes colors. I have that thing looking everywhere from white to almost black to red to purple to green, which is really kind of cool. And yes, I am very easily amused. But I do have a blog. I've been blogging now for, it'll be 5 years in March or April. DDOeven.wordpress.com, called Funs and Fails in DDO, and some fun, a lot of fails. And I was, talking to you guys earlier and saying, reading some of my old posts from back in like early 2011 when I was really new. It's like, I don't believe I'm still playing sometimes. And also when my DDO disappeared, and if you don't know what that is, that was kind of a neat, one of the features that had, it was something Turbine provided, was if you were a DDO player, you got a free WordPress blog to use if you wanted it. And that's actually how I met most of my best friends in DDO. And when that, DDO discontinued my DDO, so we started our DDO as a way to have all of the blogs, no matter what platform you use, WordPress, Blogger, Blogspot, whatever, all of the blogs in one place. Most recent blogs listed all the time, automatically updates. If you have a DDO blog and you're not on there, you can let me know. I've been really, really remiss in keeping that updated. I've got a whole list of blogs I need to add. A long story, killed my shoulder, cannot really use a mouse that comfortably. So, it's hard to cut and paste and click and drag and all that stuff. But I am going to update it. I really am.
Very well, then. Anything else you wish to add?
Well, I know Bonnie Bew has an owlbear sanctuary, so I'm thinking what I need to do is start a cosmetic pet sanctuary. So if you do have any unwanted, unloved cosmetic pets, you can send them to me. I will give them a good home. We have a Kraken that's all tricked out. We let our animals from Wild Grove wander around in the Autos Hall, and they do. All the deer and frogs and squirrels come over and dance in it. So I will be happy to give your abandoned cosmetic pet a very good home.
Okay. Then let's head into our news beyond DDO. Wizards of the Coast has shut down their community forums. Ooh, speaking of things shutting down.
Well, they are shutting them down. They are still open now. They will be shut down on October the 29th. WotC said, choosing to retire a former foundation of our community was not an easy decision, but we feel that we must adjust our communication structure to reflect where conversations about Wizards of the Coast are taking place. Then they go on to say that social media has changed significantly over the last 10 years, and discussions about games aren't exclusive to company-hosted forums. The majority of the community conversations take place on third-party websites, such as Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, etc., etc. And it is up to us to evolve alongside of our players. So I can see why they're doing this. I mean, it makes sense because social media has just blown up, especially in the past couple years. I know the D&D subreddit is very, very active, and there's always good conversation and everything going on over there. So, and most of the time for Dungeons and Dragons related stuff, I usually go to Reddit or I look on their Twitter. So to me, this makes sense. There is a lot of people really upset about this. And then I can see that side of the coin too, why if you spend a lot of times on the forum, you are going to be kind of upset that it closed. But I guess it's just the changing of the times.
Now, also, speaking of WotC, we have a new video that explores the role of a certain person in Rage of Demons, and it sounds like it is a dark elf that everyone's familiar with.
Why, it is. Of course, everybody knows that Drizzt plays a pretty major role in the Rage of Demons storyline that is now released for Pen and Paper 5e, and also will be in some upcoming DLC for Sword Coast Legends. So the author, R.A. Salvatore, and Dungeons & Dragons designers Chris Perkins and Mike Merrill sat down to discuss the role of Drizzt in the Rage of Demons storyline. And I must warn you, and I put this in the post that I put up, there are some spoilers in this little short video. So if you don't want to be spoiled about any of the Rage of Demons storyline, do not watch this video. It's nothing like major, I wouldn't say, after watching the video, but it is kind of spoilerish.
All right. Now, here's my question.
Okay.
Are there any spoilers in the Amazon Books interview with R.A. Salvatore?
But there is a funny first question, and I laughed out loud at the first question.
How do you pronounce Drizzt?
How do you pronounce Drizzt? That's right. Amazon Books did do an interview with R.A. Salvatore, and basically it was talking about his new book series, Homecoming, and the first book is now out. It's called The Archmage. And yes, the first question was, how do you pronounce Drizzt? And his answer is funny and classic. So everybody needs to at least go watch the first answer that R.A. Salvatore gives.
All right. I remember one time when I was seeing a video where R.A. Salvatore was promoting the Legend of Drizzt board game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was pronouncing it as Drizzt, but I have a feeling, but of course, everybody seems to have their own version of how they actually pronounce it. Yes.
Right, and I think that's kind of like Drizzt, homeland of Menzobanzarine. I think everybody pronounces that differently too.
All right. Okay, I guess no big shock there.
It's kind of like those weird fantasy made-up names. Like, who even knows how to pronounce them other than R.A. Salvatore, because he's the one that came up with them. And it's funny, though, because like you said, I've heard him pronounce Drizzt like 3 different ways.
Yes. So he doesn't even know.
Right, exactly. So it's like, but listen to the answer he gives, and you'll know why that he pronounces it 3 different ways.
All right. Very well, then. Let's head into our week in DDO, where we take a look at what our characters have been up to in this game. And Drac, what have you been up to?
I did a lot of stuff this weekend.
Ooh.
My rogue reached level 16. I also hit 900 favor.
You are getting close to the big 1K.
I am almost there. But the major thing my rogue did, and I have to thank Bonnie for this.
Okay.
I finally looted the Sapphire Sting longbow from the temple.
Ooh.
For my ranger. The longbow.
My ranger hates you.
Oh,
yeah.
Why do you want to thank Bonnie for that?
Because we actually played on Thursday night, and before I came on, she sent me a message that said, when you get on, I just finished running Temple 1, and I'm at the chest. I haven't opened it yet. I was waiting for you because maybe I can help you with your RNG luck. So I'm like, sure. So I came on and basically just got to pike the dungeon. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. I just ran in and ran to the last part, got to the chest, and she had a couple of her other characters there with her. So if anything good was dropping, she was multi-boxing. So if anything good dropped out of the chest, she could pass it to me. And lo and behold, one of her other characters got the Sapphire Longbow. So one checklist off of my DDO bucket list done.
Out of how many?
Yeah, exactly. Still haven't got that dagger. Still trying to get the dagger, but one step at a time. But then, other than looting the longbow, I was running Quest in the 12. I did Acid Wit, did that on hard, and that was an interesting quest, I'll say that. And then I ran Lord of Stone. And I was debating about whether I wanted to run that yet, because I'm level 16, that quest was level 17, and I'm thinking, how hard could it be?
Oh!
Yeah, I actually didn't have too many problems in it, other than if you've done that quest, you know you have to collect these crests to open up the final door, and the final boss you have to fight to get the final crest is a Medusa, and she was a level CR, I think 19 or 20, and she put a hurting on me. But other than that Medusa, it was I had a fairly easy time, and that was a little fun quest. And the Lord of Stone is a strange little fellow, I'll just say that.
Yes, he is.
So still in the 12, so I will start working on the other 12 quest later. And then I did the Orchard on Elite with Bonnie and Sweetie Noche. And if you remember probably 4 shows ago, maybe 3 or 4 shows ago, I talked about how I went into Fleshmaker's Laboratory, and I got to the very end, and then I found out I couldn't finish the quest because you had to hit some runes. You had a specific time frame to hit those runes, and I couldn't do it by myself, and I couldn't get my hirelings to cooperate with me. So I said I was going to recruit Bonnie to help me. Well, hey, guess what? She helped me. So we ended up running actually all of the Orchard quest, did the Desecrated Temple of Vaal, the Fleshmaker's Laboratory, Ghost of Preperdition, and Inferno of the Damned. And because I was with Bonnie, we ran them on Elite. There was many deaths on my part, many deaths. Poor Bonnie had to keep rezzing me so many times.
What level were you running it on?
Well, let's see. Those were, I think at Elite there, I want to say 17 or 18 maybe.
Okay.
And we also did Necro 4 as well. That one, I actually couldn't finish the quest because if you know about that quest, there's as Bonnie and Sweetie called it, the chute of death that you have to fall down. Well, yeah, I died and they couldn't get my stone, so they actually finished that one. But
Litany of the Dead?
Yes. Litany, yeah, I'm sorry. And Bonnie and Sweetie both told me, they're like, okay, you're probably going to die on the chute because everybody dies on the chute, especially on Elite, because there's those traps that go and you have to jump it just right. Well, yeah, I just instantly died. It was just boom, dead. So they laughed at me, but it was okay. And then we did, after we got done with the Orchard, Bonnie asked, do you want to run the Trials of the Archon quest line? And I hadn't done it yet, so I'm like, sure. So we did that on Elite as well, because once again, with Bonnie, you have to do everything on Elite. That's the only, I think, way she plays. But that's okay. We love her anyway. So we did the Archon's Trial, the Demon Assault, and the Devil's Details. And all I'm going to say about the Devil's Details is one word. Abishai. So many Abishai. I have a screenshot that I will put in the show notes that Sweetie Noche took. And when you see the screenshot, you'll know why I say Abishai. Craziness ensued in the Devil's Details. That was so freaking hard. Oh my gosh, that was hard. It didn't help that most of the time we were in there, we were on red dungeon alert.
Well, yeah, based on what you just said.
yeah. That didn't help our case much. So once we actually got the dungeon alert down, it wasn't too bad. Sweetie's in the chat, and she's saying, yeah, there was at one point, there was at least 100 Abishai that we had to fight. It was crazy. Saba Jade's in the chat, and she's saying, are you a rogue? Sneak is your friend. Yes, I was sneaking a lot, as much as I could. But they were still finding me and killing me and eating me. And, it was crazy. That was, I gotta say, though, that was about the most fun I've had playing DDO, probably since I ran the quest that shall not be named with the damsels.
Quest that shall not be named?
Yes.
You can't say that and not name it. Come on.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
everybody knows the question.
Is it in House D?
Oh,
Is it my favorite
that
quest?
one. It does it have the same name as an Arthur Miller play?
It might.
Okay.
It's in the giant hold.
Okay.
That's all I'll say.
It-
That's all I'll say. I'm not. It shall not be named. I'm not naming the name.
Sweetie just named it in chat.
She
Oh.
did. She did. See, bad things are going to happen now because she
Yeah.
said that word. So that was a lot of fun. And then the only other thing I did was what I did with you, Pine Leaf, and I'll let you talk about that as you normally do.
Oh, but you have this little note here.
Oh, actually,
something that I completely forgot all about at a special event.
why I wondered why you weren't playing at all. Yes, Sword Coast Legends had their second Head Start weekend, so I participated in that. I mainly did the dungeon crawls, which are basically just random dungeons that are put together, and then just random people can join in. It can either be random dungeons via the game, or you can actually pick player-created dungeons to run through too. Basically just did the totally random game-generated ones. The biggest thing I'm going to say about Sword Coast right now is the loot system needs work. It needs lots and lots and lots of work. Basically how it is now with the loot system, if there is a chest or a crate or anything that could have items in it, whoever gets to it first gets it.
Ouch!
So it probably wouldn't be so bad if you were, in like a group with friends, because then, one person, could say like, okay, every other chest or whatever, like I'll open one, you'll open the other one, and then, oh, hey, there was a +2 longbow in this one. I know your ranger probably needs it, so here, I'll drop it for you to get. Which I'm assuming that's how, like groups of friends would play. But when you're playing with like a pickup group, not so much.
Yeah.
The first two that I ran through, the person, somehow I ended up with the same person twice. He would just run around and pick up all of the loot. He just ninja looted everything. And then...
Is there a way to create an enemies list so that you never get stuck with them again?
Not as of yet, but I know I've seen on the community forums for Sword Coast, that was one of the questions players really want. So I'm hoping they implement that, or I'm hoping they do something with loot, because I'm telling you, that loot system just sucks bad right now. The game itself is great. Bad. It's fun. I liked it. I played with the Dungeon Master mode a bit. I didn't actually DM a live dungeon. I just spent some time creating it with the creation tool. I can see that you could spend hours and hours creating a dungeon and a module for people to run through with the creation tool.
Yeah, and I have a feeling it's going to be like most creation games where you'll have some gems and some awful... Why did they post this dungeon?
And that is the case, because I did run through a couple of the ones that people created, and I would say mostly they were all good. There was a couple of them that were just like, okay, I don't know why you bothered, but yeah. Right. Mostly they were all good, and I think the more time you put into it, the better it's going to be. But I can really see how actually being a live DM in a game, because one of the random dungeons that I did actually had a live DM, and that was pretty amazing, because you can tell when the DM is actually doing something. They have what Sword Coast calls a wisp, and it can either look, there's like 6 different ones you can choose from, so you can tell if the DM is doing something. And we actually saw the DM like randomly placing a monster for us to fight, which was awesome. So I can see how this game is going to be a lot of fun, but it needs some work, especially the loot system.
Well, that's probably one of the reasons why they decided they weren't ready for release.
True. Yep. So there's going to be another head start. So we'll see. Hopefully some of the bugs will get worked out.
Then I'll go into my week, and we'll begin with my level 15 Artificer with Draculetta, where we went into Wayloon Prison. We returned there and worked on a lesson in deception. And that was a real interesting quest with a real interesting boss, I should say.
Is that the guy at the end with all not the hellhounds, but whatever those things that look like hellhounds are, but they're not hellhounds? Howlers. I can't remember which Wayloon quest is which.
No, the lesson in deception is the one where the
guy is basically taunting you the whole time.
Yeah.
And if you stop to do anything, he starts killing people. And then he says,
Oh,
that's your
yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
You
Your
did
fault.
this.
That guy's
You
mean.
killed him. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he is mean. That is and he wonders why we didn't accept his invitation.
Although there have been times that I've had, pug members that I've thought, well, you want to kill them, I'll be fine with that.
Can you pick my live players to kill and not the NPCs?
Yeah, that's it. All right, and we tried to do the next quest, but we reached the entrance right at the time it was time for us to break up. It's like, ah!
Yeah, because Wayloon is not the most easiest place to get around.
Yeah, that's an understatement. The question is, can we remember next time we play how to get there?
Yeah, I can pretty much remember how to.
Okay, good.
Straight there.
Oh, well, then you can come show me, because I have a guildie who's fond of saying that I get lost in Market Barrack, and he's really not far from being wrong.
Well, let's see. Seeing some places where I've got lost at, I have a bit of a reputation on that matter.
You always say that you are directionally challenged by me.
Yes. Everyone else says it too. All right. On my permadeath paladin, I reached level 4, and I was doing the Sharn Syndicate. So therefore, I was doing Stand Your Ground, Dirty Laundry, Fresco, Repossession, Bookbinder, and Come Out and Slay. So the entire Sharn cycle. And the first time I tried Bookbinder Rescue, I was at the room where you have the oil slick trap. And of course, if one of the hostages is behind that door, you're in trouble. That's all I gotta say about that matter. Unless you're a rogue or an artificer and could just disable the trap. But unpick the lock or something like that, because I was trying to bust down the door, then the oil comes out, and then when the oil came out, I slipped down, and the hostage was dead before I could get back my balance. You fail a balance saving throw, and you lose the entire instance.
That is kind of sucky.
Yeah.
And you don't have FOM at that level. In fact, I think the old festival cookies that had FOM on them, they changed to something else.
Actually, probably what I should have done is before going on that quest, gone to... Oh, no, that's right. This was my permadeath character. I'm not allowed to do that. I was thinking of going out to something that a previous character had run and see if I had any bells of opening in my vault. But, of course, that's barred against my permadeath rules, so I couldn't do that anyway. But, yes, if you are doing it with a character that doesn't have any special restrictions on them, then, yes, bells of opening... This sounds like the perfect quest for using them. I don't use them in order to get treasure. I use them in order to win this quest. Fortunately, the second
not a bad idea.
Yeah. I think the second time I must have made my saving throw because I managed to get through there and not have one of the hostages die. So, Even Note, what were you up to this week?
Well, I have 17 tunes just on Solanas alone, and they do all get a fair amount of playing time, so my weeks are usually kind of mixed up. But we have a Friday night static group that 3 of us started new tunes, and 1 of us TR'd a couple months ago, and we're capped. We started the E-Star chain, did the first 2 quests. 2 of us, we have different bedtimes. 2 of us went to bed, 2 of Comic Relief and I stayed up and finished the Explorers. Got my free-to-play alt guild up to level 20, so she can finally use the guild vendors. Got her up to level 13, and I was really proud of her. She is free-to-play, so she is kind of gimped. She doesn't have a lot of gear, and I thought, I want to see if she can get to Evening Star, and now she did take a higher, but she soloed the Lords of Dust chain, including Beyond the Rift, on normal with no problem at all. And that was what got her to 13. I was so proud of her. And I've been doing a lot of XP farming. The only 2 classes I have not played to cap so far are Druid and Artie. So I've been doing a lot of XP farming on my Ranger. I have a favorite soul that I TR'd into a Rogue, and she's just kind of lost. I already have a Mechanic and an Assassin, and this other Rogue has no real direction, so I thought, she's going to TR into something else. So I've been doing a lot of XP farming on them. They're all like level 23 to 25 right now, because they're going to be the next ones to TR. And I have finished flagging all of my level appropriate tunes for Shroud, even my intentionally gimped bank tune, who I've gotten attached to She's flagged for Shroud. I've been trying to farm her some Canis boots because she's 18 now. I never thought I'd get her past 15. But yeah, I could never be permadeath because I get too attached to my tunes. I was never going to run anything on her except Coin Lords and House K Favor. And here she is. She's flagged for Shroud. She's, waving around a mad loot, which unfortunately I cannot glamour with a bouquet of flowers. She's wearing a mushroom cap. I bought her hair dye. Yeah, she's really getting to be more than but she's so intentionally gimped that it's kind of cool to take her into stuff and see her not die. I mean, I took stuff like, I maxed her charisma, because I thought, well, I can use it for haggle too. And I did put a couple points in con just so she could get through the favor farmers. Like her, she took stuff like I never take, like eschew materials, augment summoning, and her feat selection sucks. And she pretty much dumps that at everything but charisma and a little bit of con. And if anybody tried to play her besides me who knows her, they'd be like, yeah, reroll.
All right, then. And speaking of rolling again, it is time for another giveaway.
Okay, let's count the people in the chat room. I'll go to random.org again and give me just a minute, and I will tell you who the winner is. Brenda C. You just won 500 turbine points. Once again, just send an email to podcast@ddoplayers.com. Just say you were Brenda C in the chat room. You won the second turbine point giveaway, and I will send your code after we are done recording the show. Congrats.
If you would like to help DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on DDO Players News, or even be a guest host with us. And how close are we to the next reward?
We are $4, less than $4 away. That reward is going to be a 1-year VIP code for DDO.
Okay, then. And
oh, man, I would love to win something like that. And then my free-to-play account could go VIP, and I could just, put it on this account.
There you go. So, yeah, less than $4 away. So we're almost there.
We are getting closer. All right. And our featured comment for this week is that DDO Players News, episode 50, Strahd's Tears. We have a comment from Livma who says, wow, the ES mailbox is my happy place. They got rid of the creepy birds and brought back the friendly ones. That's because of all the complaints we were having last week about the even star mailboxes and the birds that are there.
Some people were complaining about the birds.
Okay, yeah, some people were complaining about them.
Also, we had a comment from Mock Taskmaster. He says, this was a great episode. I was sorry to not be there for the first 30 or so minutes. Great to have all the talk between everyone and, of course, making fun of Drac, that his in-game RNG hates him, and at the same time, his real life do as well. Keep up the great work, guys, and gals sometimes. I'll keep tuning in, and we thank you for that, Mock.
All righty. You can contact us by sending us an email at podcast@ddoplayers.com. You could also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, DDO Players @DDO Players, Draculetta @Draculetta_72, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles, and how can we reach you, Evenote?
I am on Twitter as Evennote, or you can always send an email to evennote@gmail.com.
And the Players Alliance has 2 live shows every single week. On Mondays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News. And you can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf News reminding you to blast those bugbears.